Let's talk about hair trims, shall we? Ooh, these ends. I'm Genuine Nard, and this is everything I've learned about growing my natural type 4 hair. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, and thanks. Few things give me more anxiety than trimming my hair. I've sat in the chair of one too many scissor-happy stylists who will trim off a year's worth of growth in a few minutes. They usually finish with a sadistic smile, and then they say something like, "Now your hair can grow because we got off all those dead ends." I would think of something real sassy to say as I cried in my car on the way home. So after my big chop, I wanted to start trimming my own hair, but I wasn't sure when to trim or how much. When you're trying to grow your hair, every inch saved is an inch gained. Think of it like money. If you're spending money faster than you're saving, you'll never have money no matter how much money you make. I'm giving y'all some hard-learned wisdom. To see growth, put the scissors down and save up your hair. Now I treat trims like surgery. There are times that it's the only recourse, but I'm going to try everything else before I cut. And I want small, deliberate cuts. It is a myth that you have to trim off all of your dead ends before your hair will grow. All of your hair is dead. Trims do make your hair look better, and they improve the overall health of your hair because the damage is gone, not causing single strand knots and more damage. But they don't make your hair grow faster. Your hair grows at a genetic rate from your scalp, not your ends. I bet scissor-happy stylists made up that lie so they can keep you from flipping out when you see all of your hair piling up on the floor. So, how do you know when you need a trim? Look at your hair. Are there split ends that are spreading? What's causing that? Can you repair or seal those ends? You can't always cut away issues. You have to address and solve them. But after the issue is fixed, a little trim is probably a good idea. Another way to know if you need a trim is to touch your hair. Are you getting a lot of single strand knots and tangles? This is usually a sign that there's damaged hair causing more damage. A little trim or dusting will usually resolve this. Now, dusting is cutting strands of hair at the point of damage. I prefer this method because it doesn't impact your overall length. But sometimes a trim is a better option because it keeps those ends from looking too thin and unkept. Now, I was playing a little earlier with my wig to show what not to do in a trim. But I'm going to start on my own hair. And honestly, it still gives me anxiety every time. My hair is prepared and sectioned off, so I'm going to start in the back where I still have some mild heat damage. My ends are sealed, and I'm going to trim it out gradually. As I touch it, I can tell it's almost gone. Now, I wore a light-colored shirt, so hopefully you can see these tiny, tiny cuts in between my fingers. Tiny. I left the hair, and I can feel it. Got it. These scissors are only for trims, and they are razor sharp. Dull scissors can actually cause more damage to your hair than they help. And as you can see, I'm going very small. I'm using my boar bristle brush to disperse oil down to those ends, and then I pinch them in between my fingers for another tiny, tiny cut. Got it. And I repeat this process until the entire section is finished. When my hair was shorter, I would stand between 3 mirrors so that I could see every part of my head. And I will tell you, it is tricky to film and trim at the same time, so I'm a little nervous. I put the bulk of my hair behind my shoulder so you can see these tiny micro cuts. And look, I'm shaking. Look between your fingers. It's very unlikely you overcut. You might undercut, and you can always go back and clean that up. If you overcut, you just have to grow it out. Now, how much is a trim? To me, it is a ½ inch of hair or less. Anything more is a haircut. And a ½ inch is your max, it is not the minimum. Stylists use words like rounding or layering or evening it out. All of that, that's hair cutting. Okay, so this section is done. I'm going to brush it again, my boar bristle brush. And now let's finish this head up. As I finish up this last section, a few little pointers. I don't trim curly hair and I don't trim wet hair because of shrinkage. I've seen videos of women trimming their naturally curly hair and I cringe. What looks like a ½ inch is really 2 inches when you straighten it. So I only trim or dust after I have steam ironed my hair and I can see exactly how much I'm cutting. The sections in the front are a little bit bigger because I don't have any heat damage there. But the cuts are still tiny, tiny, tiny. A few more little micro cuts and I am almost finished. I distribute that oil using my boar bristle brush. And I hope you can see in this process I take my time and I make sure that I'm doing the very best I can. I used to heat straighten once a month and take a picture after I trimmed my hair to see the progress. I didn't realize that all that heat and trimming was actually slowing down my progress. Now I straighten and trim in the spring and in the fall, or if I'm doing a video. Last little cut, and any other time, I put the scissors down. I find it gives my hair a better chance to grow, and it's a lot less stress. So that's it. I try to tell people to not get into the trimming trap. It's a trap to think that, oh, I'm just going to trim a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there. And before you know it, you have undone all of your growth. So I don't trim more than a ½ an inch, and I do that twice a year. Now, I will dust my hair, but trimming it, I don't do a formal trim except for twice a year. And as you can see, they're tiny micro cuts. Now, the myth is if you trim your hair often, your hair will grow faster. And I'm going to say that's a myth because your hair will grow at its genetic rate regardless of how often you trim. That would mean that people who got their hair cut quite often would have longer hair. And the reality is when you get your hair cut a lot, your hair will stay at that rate or get shorter. Now, outside of your big chop where you're cutting off all of the damaged hair that's been caused by relaxers, it's very hard to repair hair that has been severely damaged. But once your hair starts growing back and it is healthy, then what you need to do is find out what's causing the dryness to your ends, the breakage to your ends, the damage to your ends. Oftentimes, the older your hair is, the more fragile it becomes. And by just applying a little bit of oil to the ends of your hair and then keeping it in a protective style, you can minimize a lot of that damage while you're going from phase 1 growth to phase 2 growth to phase 3 growth. And we'll talk about phases of growth in another video. Okay, so that's pretty much it about trims. I also want to say you can repair damage. If you do not know how, please subscribe to my channel and I will tell you how I have repaired my damage over time so that I can see my growth. I am wishing you success, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments, how often do you trim your hair? And thank you so much for watching. Share, subscribe, like, comment, and that's it. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this one. Tell me how it turned out for you in the comments. Click like, subscribe, and ring that bell for all the videos in this playlist, or just view these next two. And thank you again for watching. Alright, that's it.